Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is approximately 1:08 p.m. on Monday, February 23rd, 2019. I'd like to call to order the board business meeting of the New York State Board of Parole at this time and begin by calling the roll of the board commissioners present, beginning with Commissioner Demosthenes.
Commissioner Karen Demosthenes present.
Commissioner Eric Berliner present.
Kathy Kiley, Counsel to the Board, present.
Tina Stanford, Chairwoman, present.
Tana Agostini, Commissioner present.
Commissioner Charles Davis, present.
And also from the department and the Board of Parole staff, please identify yourself for the record.
Rocio Villa, Executive Assistant to the Board of Parole.
Lorraine Morse, Administrative Assistant to the Board of Parole.
Chelsea Misberry, Special Assistant to the Chairwoman of the Board.
And also with the Department of Corrections, recording our event today. Thank you so much. And welcome to the members of the public who have joined us here today as well. As you can see, based on the numbers of commissioners present, we do not have a legal quorum, so we will not be reviewing our minutes from the last two meetings at this time or taking up to vote any other matters. We are expecting one other commissioner who will probably join us in session. Other commissioners are unavailable and excused because of difficulties getting here on time due to weather or other personal accommodations that have been made prior to today. At this point, I'd like to just go over a couple of items that may be considered old business by reviewing the fact that since we have last met at a board business meeting in this setting, we've been very busy. We had a special session meeting in January where we voted on proposed regulations, and perhaps our counsel will give some information on that at this time.
Yep, we voted on Title 9 NYCR 8002.6, 9 NYCR 8003.2, and 8005.20, which have to do with the standard conditions and also the revocation guidelines. Right now, we are in the comment period. We will be in the comment period until technically March 31st, 2019. The text, it was in the state register, but the text of the actual regulations can be found on the DOCS website. If you go under legal and then you go under rules and regulations, the proposed text can actually be found there. So again, we've got the 60-day comment period. Any comments can be made, according to the state register, either through email to rules@docs.ny.gov, or they can be mailed to my attention.
Thank you so much. I'm very proud of the work that this board has undertaken in advancing those proposed regulations. They really signal a new direction for the department and for the Board of Parole in terms of our standard conditions, which every person released to supervision must agree to, as well as the revocation guidelines that everyone is subject to should they be accused of violating the terms of those standard conditions or any special conditions in an important respect. What's significant to note about the conditions is that they are more realistically tailored to a citizen's life. They're no more intrusive than they need to be. They make demands that I believe are reasonable and fair and just. And then with respect to those who are accused of violating any condition in an important respect, the guidelines are tailored to current behavior instead of the crime of conviction, which the old regulations, which are now 20 years old, used to be tailored to. And of course, those are still the regulations that we're operating under today. But we've tried to update our regulations responsibly so that public safety is still maintained, but that people have a chance to be successful when they are under the supervision of the Department of Corrections and community supervision.
Chair, one other thing I just wanted to mention too, that the notice actually appeared in the state register on January 30th. So in case anybody is looking for them, that's where you can see the assessments, etc.
Thank you. I also wanted to report that we had a training, part one of what might be at least a 2- or 3-part training led by our fine Special Populations Subcommittee, co-chaired by Commissioner Davis, who's here with us today, and Commissioner Drake, both being mental health professionals. They chair our Committee on Special Populations, vulnerable populations, which includes people with mental health needs that are either incarcerated within one of the state facilities or on supervision. And so we had the experts from, an expert from OMH that represents administrative purposes for that population, working in conjunction with the department, and representatives from the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision as well, to come in and do a training for the board members on how people are added to those special caseloads within the correctional setting, and how to interpret the information that we get when we are considering people for discretionary release on parole supervision. So it's a very robust meeting. A lot of good questions were asked, answers were given, but we really just scratched the surface with that meeting, and so we will be having at least 1 or 2 additional follow-up trainings just on the topic of those with mental health needs that are being supervised during a term of incarceration by the department. The weather, of course, has been a challenge for us. I'm happy that we've been able, for the most part, to get where we need to go. Our equipment has been working so that we can still teleconference our videos, our video interviews as scheduled, but we've had to make some adjustments, and I really want to commend the hard work of all of the board members in caring for one another, being conscious of staff safety, not keeping people any longer than we need to each day, working full days, however, being cognizant of the fact that people need to get on the road later. People need to get on the road sooner than later, and adjusting our schedules to make it possible for everyone to travel safely. So I want to thank you all for that, and I'm particularly thankful that we've been able to still continue interviews even in really bad weeks of inclement weather. So I wanted to say that. And I want to note that we are in a building stage. We are looking to expand the board. We know that we need the help, but everyone else seems to know it too. So we're hopeful that this legislative session will result in new members joining our ranks, and we have been getting resumes from across the state. At this point, unless there's any other old business that anyone wants to attend to, I'll move on to new business. Okay. We've talked about the fact that our regulations are on the table. There's also a lot of legislation that's being presented by the new legislature here in our state, and we certainly have some ideas on how to improve upon some of the things that are on the table, and so that's work that's ongoing, and we'll see what comes of those efforts. And again, we thank our other active committees, namely our legislative committee, in terms of helping us to understand what bills are out there, and also helping us to work through alternatives or ways that we think those bills that are out there might be improved. We also have represented today one of the members thus far of our Bridge the Gap committee, and that committee seeks to improve communication, improve outcomes whenever we're talking across divisions within the Department of Corrections, primarily. So that work is ongoing. We do have a meeting coming up with our colleagues in the Department of Correction from different disciplines to make sure that we are communicating what we need from one another to do our jobs better, and that we are making sure there are no gaps in service and in the work that we do together. I don't have any other items that I wish to mention at this time for new business. And as I said at the outset of the meeting, we're not in a position to vote on anything. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to correspondence, announcements, and invitations. At this point, I want to again thank those board members who were able, and most of us here were able to attend the New York State Association of Black and Puerto Rican Legislators annual gala this past weekend. It was the weekend before last, actually, and it was a lovely time. And it's always good to be visible as a group, and I thank you all for making that sacrifice to attend that event. I recently had the opportunity to go to a graduation ceremony at Mariah Shaw Correctional Facility, their most recent graduation, and that was an excellent event. It was really wonderful to be able to see the men who had worked so hard in the graduating platoon to graduate that day. That very same day, they were going home. So the spirits were high. Their drill was excellent. I mean, I really felt like I was at a military graduation, and I got to see the other platoons that are coming behind them. We had the opportunity, those in the company that I was in for that particular event, got to actually meet and speak with men who had just arrived, so the most recently arrived platoon, and then we also got to tour the barracks and the residence of the platoon coming behind the class that just graduated. And it's a beautiful facility. No razor wire up in the northern part of the state. The staff is all very committed to excellence and helping people to rehabilitate themselves and ready themselves for release. Of course, the SHOCK program allows people after 6 months to be released if they graduate from the program and they are not denied release by the Parole Board. It just happened to be the happy coincidence that the graduating platoon all received open dates by the Parole Board. There wasn't a one that was graduating who, upon a review by the Parole Board, had been denied that their release upon their graduation. Their family were also there. I just have great things to say about the program there, and so all of you are also invited to take part and witness a graduation, and then we'll also set up smaller tours as the weather warms, especially. But I think you've all received by now a list of dates in your emails telling you of upcoming graduations at Mariah. And so you're welcome to attend any of those, and then I'll let you know what dates we set up for possible tours, and a longer visit and a tour of the facility. And I hope to do the same thing perhaps with Lakeview for the commissioners who are further west to do as well. And then, of course, you know, we want to do tours of a lot of different facilities that offer different programs in particular, so that you have a good sense of the day-to-day life of the men and women who we're meeting and interviewing. So that's all coming in the new year as well. And we're certainly invited and welcome to attend those things. I don't have any mail to read today, and no other announcements. Does anyone else have any announcements? Anything that I've forgotten? Perhaps there was an item of old business that we could have taken up. I promised Commissioner Demosthenes, who has been an excellent steward of a program that we've run to acknowledge happy occasions and sad occasions for the board, that position as maintaining that might be vacant. So I hope that those of you who are present might consider taking up the mantle. I think she and Commissioner Berliner had done a fine job sort of co-leading those efforts. He may still be interested, but I did want to put that out there, that we could use some help. I think she'd like to turn the mantle over. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of things to acknowledge, and most often of the sad nature and not of a happy nature. When I think back of my years just as chair since 2013, we've lost by death 2 board members. That's a lot. And many of us have lost loved ones dear to us in that time as well. And then, you know, there's sickness, but thank God that for the most part we're on the mend, and we are well. So thank you for your service in that capacity, Commissioner. And if there's no other announcements, then I think that we can conclude the public portion of this meeting upon a motion to conclude the public portion, enter into executive session to discuss legal matters with our counsel that are not subject to public meetings law. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second? Moved by Commissioner Agostini, second by Commissioner Berliner, to enter into executive session, and at the conclusion of that, adjourn the meeting. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. 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 Any nays? Thank you so much. We are off the public record. Thank you.